Hey Broadway fans, welcome for another week of Broadway Breakdown here on Popcorn Talk Network. Gerard Butler is singing, Minnie Driver is going cray cray, and Emmy Rossum is being cute. We're talking Phantom of the Opera, the film. Join us.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies.
And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Broadway Breakdown.
I love this scene.
I know.
I know. It's so pretty.
It just was like the movements, the sharpness.
The choreography was insane in that scene.
It reminded me of Baz Luhrmann.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
why
yeah,
I really
yeah.
liked it.
Yeah.
It was one of those like shiny, glittery Baz Luhrmann-y type of numbers.
And I love that it was like an ensemble piece. It didn't really feature the main actors. And I love that they showed the main actors watching it because I think that those reactions were so genuine of just being like, that's amazing. It's so good.
And it was just like the grand staircase, the costuming, everything about it worked.
Yes. I love it.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Like I said, we're talking Phantom of the Opera, the film this week. We talked the theater version last week, so if you didn't see that, go ahead and check it out on YouTube. I am your host, Briana Phipps. You can find me at bphipps14 on Twitter and Instagram, bphipps1214 on Snapchat. And I have two lovely co-hosts with me today. Timothy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey everybody, I'm Timothy Michael, and if you love me, you love me. You
We
can
love
find
you.
me. You love me.
Love me,
Little
love me.
Minnie Driver there. You can find me at I am Timothy Mike on all social media platforms. And to my left,
123 Jackie B on all platforms, except for Snapchat, where I'm Jackie B123.
Oh.
Yeah, Snapchat is rude, and they wouldn't let me do numbers before my name.
Rude Snapchat.
Yeah, rude.
And Snapchat was rude and someone else already had my name. I guess
How dare you? There can only be one.
Am I not that famous? Gosh.
You need to Highlander that person for this.
Seriously.
Trademark my name, copyright it. I don't think you're allowed to do that.
You are if you're like Beyonce.
I thought that she got turned down for that.
I don't know.
Oh.
I honestly,
She tried to copyright
I would
Blue Ivy.
assume that you could, but I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about the film.
Yes.
This is actually not an episode about trademarking the name Beyonce.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
It'll be coming
We'll get
up in
there.
Yeah.
2018.
We'll get
Yeah.
there.
When she has the twins, we'll
I
wait
was
to
like,
see their names
when
first.
she has the
Yes.
twins, we'll copyright that.
So let's just dive right into this movie. I want to talk about some of the differences that we had because storyline is pretty much the same, but they did make some interesting, some questionable, some I liked changes in the film. So we had a lot of these flashbacks, which we got in the beginning, which I loved that in the beginning.
I love flashbacks, and you guys know this, because we're doing film, you have an opportunity to do a flashback,
Yes.
which is always exciting to me because use the medium to its advantage.
Yeah.
Because if you can't, the special effects they're beautiful here, but they're not as exciting as when you're in the room, so you might as well do something else that the audience can
And I really
go, wow,
liked
that's interesting.
Yeah.
them taking us back into the past of like this huge chandelier come back together, and as it's coming up, we're just all the cobwebs are blowing off, all the lights coming back to the theater.
Well, that's what
that
I was
was
gonna
really cool.
bring up. Is it really a flashback or is it more of a flash forward?
It's kind of both.
Because I feel like we do more flash forwards in this. We're more set in the.
We
Yeah,
do have
that's
the
true.
flashback where he's like the feral child in
Yeah.
the...
Yeah, I
But
guess
I
we
mean
do.
more
We
of the
have
black and
both. We
whites,
have both
yeah.
flashbacks and flash forwards.
Which
I
in
will
itself is pretty
say that there were a couple flash forward points that I thought weren't needed.
Yeah, there's some of that stuff where he's like riding in the carriage, and they randomly cut to him riding in the carriage, and you're like, I don't need to see this. I get it.
Also, for one quick second, because I looked it up, because I was like, oh, is that supposed to be Meg at the theater with him? And it's not. It's supposed to be Madame Giry
Yeah,
still.
it's Madame Giry.
But
Say it.
wasn't she done?
That's what I was saying. How is he
that
how
old
is
and
she-
she's
Right.
Like, how is she alive and walking? Like,
Right.
and he's not.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to figure out
Right.
here.
right? Like, what regimen is
Because
she
she
on?
looks good.
She doesn't look that different.
She looks great.
They're basically saying that if you're a ballerina, you have, I guess, a better
That's what I
life
was gonna
expectancy.
say.
Yeah.
Was that she's a ballerina? She
That's-
just
Yeah, but
apparently lives
don't you have like
longer.
more injuries and actually
No,
like
no,
your
no.
body
it should technically
deteriorates
be the
more when you
opposite. But
Yes.
maybe there's something
But
in the water.
yeah.
something in the
Yeah.
water in France
Yeah.
because he moved away or something. We'll say that. I don't know.
Sure.
He went to America, we ate 50 burgers, and then he was like all decrepit from it.
Yeah. I also love how in the movie she tried to like outbid him for that music box.
Heck yeah.
I was like, can you just give
Just
it
her
to
eyes,
him? Like, damn.
She's
man.
just like,
Mm,
And then she's like, no, you can have it. Yeah, he can have it.
she's like, I just wanted you to pay more for it. She's like, I actually bought this theater and this is all the money coming to me, so I'm just racking up the dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping it wouldn't be Madame Giry, that it would be Meg, because
it made more sense.
It makes more sense.
It did, especially because Meg was, I'm not gonna say an insignificant character, but in the movie she has more of like this power toward the end where she like gets this mob and tries to like, I felt like stick up for her friend and rescue her friend, and then she's just gone.
Plus, I love that she looks like the actress who played Gabrielle in
Xena.
Yes. So I was rooting for her because I was like, Gabrielle, you can do it.
I had no idea what you were talking about until you said Xena, and I love that you guys were just both on that same page.
Of course,
Gabrielle.
Yeah.
Nope, I'm on the same boat. It's all good.
We also had the chandelier fall at the end of the film instead of the middle, which made them change lines to Masquerade.
Yeah, which they said something like
to our friends that are here instead of to a new chandelier.
Yeah.
Not like terrible, but I was just kind of like, I love that that's like, I like that as the middle point of the movie. Like,
I felt like in the musical it makes more sense because you do need something to end the first act with a bang and then come back with Masquerade, which is, the second, act. And I felt like in the movie, everything in the end is just going to like shit. So I feel like the fire in the theater and the chandelier falling, I felt like in the movie
it's a lot
it was
more chaos.
Good.
I agree with Timothy just because you're right. When there's a theatrical experience, there's not a clear point to end the first act if you don't have that chandelier fall. Whereas here, there is no first act, so it doesn't matter. And they made this whole big thing in the intro about the chandelier. I mean, yes, they mention it in the play as well, but it seems to have so much more of an iconic status. I don't know why, to me, in the movie, where it's like, it seems like all of the information is building up to the chandelier falling.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I just love it falling in the middle just because of like the anger behind it. Couldn't they have just done two chandeliers? Come on, just rip two.
Just both. A little funny notes about the chandelier, because I had brought it up last week when we were talking about the show, and I had made a joke like, oh yeah, they didn't have Swarovski back then.
And this one
and
definitely
Swarovski did this chandelier. It was $1.3 million, and it weighed like 2.2 tons.
I mean, this was definitely a much more glamorous chandelier.
Oh yeah, and you guys had talked about the carriage ride that you felt wasn't really needed at one point with Raoul in the carriage, but he's looking at a shop of Swarovski, and it was just like a nod to them for making
it was just their
chandelier.
advertisement.
Yeah, which I thought was cute how they put it on there.
Swarovski paid them a certain amount of money.
I'm sure they did that ring too, because that ring looked good.
Dude, she gave that ring back.
Well, technically it wasn't her ring to give now, was it?
Well, I'm a little confused by this ring, because in the play there is a ring that he gives to her, but this one they had him rip, because in the play as well, he rips off the ring, and it's never clear to me if the ring he gives her is the one
Raoul's
he ripped
ring.
off.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then it is her ring.
Yeah, and if he's getting paid 20,000 francs a month from these theater owners, then he better pay for another ring.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what I'm saying.
Don't reuse that.
I mean, it's a nice ring, but damn.
I don't know. I was never
But he
clear
can't
on
go
that.
out to the store. I mean, there is that. But
you can send Madame Giry.
She's like his little errand.
A little errand woman. I want to move on to my most hated part of the film.
Oh, we're going there already?
We are.
Okay.
Jumping
Because
right
it is a
Let's
change.
go.
It is a
Let's
change.
go.
I hated that they showed the Phantom doing everything. I hate that they showed him switching out the little vial for her to spray in her mouth. I hate that they showed him cutting the line for the chandelier
and the drop.
The drop
sham.
and like switching out things and like his little secret like I hated all of that, because I loved in the play that it was all this mystical thing that you don't know how he does it, and he is the Phantom because you never see him and you never see him doing any of these things.
It's funny, on some level I agree with you, especially toward the end when at the end of the movie when he goes through the mirror instead of, whereas
Just
in the musical
vanishing.
he's in the chair and he vanishes and then it's just the mask that's left. I do feel like he should have been a little bit more mysterious in the film, but at the same time, as Jackie pointed out in the beginning of the show, I feel like when you're doing a show, like a television show or movie, you have more liberty to kind of show your audience these things.
But I don't think you should take those opportunities if it's going to detract from what the character is.
But is he really that mysterious?
I mean, that's why everyone's afraid of him, though. Because he's so mysterious. So us as an audience, I think, should have that mystery.
Well, they can't see him, but we can.
I disagree. I hated it.
I do.
What do you
I mean,
think, Jack? What do you think?
for me, it's like you're in this catch-22 because it's hard when you have a film to unless you're like literally making a horror film, to have that like level of mystery. I mean, I feel like Joel Schumacher probably felt like the audience expected to see these things because he's shooting a film. And so part of me understands that, but I do agree that like it's delightful being in the theater and feeling like there is an opera ghost. But you just can't, there's no way you can get that feel anyway from watching a movie at all, because there's just no way to feel that kind of feeling like I'm in this space, there's a ghost in this space. You'll never get that from a movie.
No, but I just think it was unneeded. I think that we as humans would have devised in our head like, oh, he's doing something to create this. It's not that he actually has magical powers.
Yes.
And I did read an article where because of that and because of the sword fight where he kind of loses the sword fight, that it made him seem weaker as a character and not as the strong presence that you get from the theater show.
Yeah, I was actually, not to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I agree with Briana on that one, because the fact that when I went to Phantom of the Opera, because they took me when I was like really little, which my mom kind of regretted, because I was like, oh my god, he's gonna come and get me. But like,
You're at home and you're like, the Phantom's coming out of my closet.
yeah, well, because my
no.
dad used to sit there.
Your mom's like, you could only be so lucky.
Right? But no, at the time, my dad would come behind my door and actually sing like the Phantom of the Opera, like as like a joke, and my mom's like, please don't do that. But that was the one thing that I really loved about it, was I never knew where, like, what direction it was coming from and things like that, and it just kind of took away for me when I watched it, because I was like, oh, he's cutting the rope, all right, cool. But I just feel like he just didn't seem that ominous, strong character that I felt like in the theater show he can literally be in 2 places or 3 places at once, especially how they are able to make his voice echo and things like that. I mean, I know that we did that in the movie, but it just didn't feel the same, and I didn't like the fact that it just looked like he was just some creep hanging around, you know what I mean?
I don't know. Like, I mean, to that point, we had talked about this last week when we were talking about the musical, and I had said that I didn't really like the Phantom or Raoul in either of them, and I had preferred that Christine be, by herself in the end, like in that movie that we were talking about. But in the movie, I feel like I would be okay with her being with either one of them, and I feel like that is because they made the Phantom seem more like a man that we could like. I feel like they made him more likable, and they couldn't make him this mysterious character, because then we would just be afraid of him the whole time.
I do think there is, to go off of that point, I do think there's something, to me, I've seen this movie so many times, and I actually am one of the rare people who just like really love this movie.
I do love this movie too.
And I think it's because as much as I enjoyed watching the stage production, there's something very human and vulnerable about him that makes you understand more why he's doing what he's doing. Especially when you have this flashback where you show how he's like this deformed child who's being beaten, and then Madame Giry takes him in. You get more of a sense of psychologically where he's coming from, rather than just being this like creepy ghost character where you're more afraid of him. In this one, you're like, oh my gosh, this guy has had the like suckiest life, and now he's like losing a sword fight and his life is falling apart. No wonder he's such a mess.
All for a woman.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying, but I think that's the exact stuff I don't like. I think I really hated him being humanistic. I liked him being this Phantom. Like, in my head, I had already created this backstory. I'd already felt bad for him in the theater show. I didn't need all this added stuff to make me feel bad for him. I already did. But it didn't excuse his actions.
Part of this, too, is, like, Gerard Butler is playing the role. And I know you're not crazy about his singing voice, but I can remember, like, I bought the album for the movie after the movie came out, because I was like, oh my gosh, Gerard Butler, he's so dreamy. And then it was when I was listening to it that I was like, oh, his voice is just definitely not as strong as like the original Phantom. And I feel, though, like when you're watching it, for me at least, when I was watching it, I saw the movie before I ever saw the play. And so when I was watching it, I was like, ooh, there's something really, really like totally sexy about Gerard Butler. And this is before he broke it big with 300, before he was like a real household name. And so you had the mysteriousness of like, who is this actor, and then you had the mysteriousness of like hot man with his half face kind of thing. And even though like he had some creepy, like he's even more creepy in this one because you have him playing with like the tiny dolls and everything.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
But there's something to me that was so sexy about him that it didn't bother me that his voice wasn't the strongest. And his voice wasn't as sucky as someone like Russell Crowe, where you're like, okay, no, just don't even.
See, I disagree. I think it was on the same level as Russell Crowe.
See, here's the thing, and I'm going to defend Gerard Butler just like you are. I feel like with the musical, they hire, singers who can act, whereas in the movie, they wanted actors who can sing. And Andrew Lloyd Webber said that behind the scenes. And I feel like when you're watching it, because that's what you do with a movie, you watch it. You don't really listen to the soundtrack. I'm like, Jackie, you weirdo. But I mean, it's
afterwards
still,
I was like,
and I totally agree with you.
But when you're
I said,
watching it, the performance is so powerful.
I totally agree with you, and I do love this film. There's nothing I don't love about it. I mean, there is stuff I don't love about it. But, like, I own the film. Like, I obviously like the film. I like to watch the film. And I don't hate his voice. I'm just using the argument that if you're going to be okay with his voice, you have to be okay with other actors who can sing. 'Cause he was not a singer at all. He had never sung a day in his life. They hired him to be an operatic partly singer, and he couldn't hit the notes. But then you're not okay with Russell Crowe, who was a singer, who is a singer, who has albums out.
Okay,
it's just not a style of singing.
Today, though, I feel like we define singers as, like, people who routinely sing, which doesn't necessarily mean they're good at it.
Right.
Like, I love Hugh Jackman. I do not think Hugh Jackman has a great range. I think that Hugh Jackman has managed to do a lot of, like, stage productions and use his voice to his advantage. But you could have, arguably, someone who sings less for a living, like an Anthony Stewart Head, who's, like, sang for an episode of Buffy and has a little band or whatever, have a better voice than Hugh Jackman, who sings all the time for a living. I think there's some level of, like, natural talent in there, and there's also, like, some people who, for whatever reason, Russell Crowe has managed to sing a lot in his life, but does not, to me, have that appealing of a voice. And
neither does Hugh Jackman.
Neither does Hugh Jackman.
I like Hugh Jackman's voice, so I'm on the opposite.
So do I, yeah.
And Hugh Jackman was
But I think
actually
Hugh Jackman is a better singer than
play
Russell
this
Crowe.
role. He was casted for this role, but had to turn it down because of Van
I
Helsing.
could see,
Yeah.
but even I could see a Hugh Jackman in this role, whereas, like, Russell Crowe, like, watching him was as painful to me as you remember Mamma Mia. Who's that one?
Pierce Brosnan.
Pierce Brosnan. Yeah, it was as painful to me as watching Pierce Brosnan in
See,
Mamma Mia. I was like,
I
girl,
did
you're struggling.
I did not love him in Les Mis, but I was okay with it. Just the same way that I don't love Gerard Butler in this, but I'm okay with it. I feel equal to both of them.
Yeah, and it's funny that you brought up Hugh Jackman having to turn this down, because they also screened Anne Hathaway for this, and she was the front runner to get Christine's
Well, at first
role.
it was Katie Holmes, and then it was Anne Hathaway.
Yeah, and then they said
If it
Katie
was
Holmes
Katie
was
Holmes,
too old.
I would never watch this movie.
Well, Andrew Lloyd Webber said she was too old, so he definitely wanted somebody. And
her acting is painful.
I like Katie Holmes.
It's
I mean,
painful.
yeah, but Anne Hathaway had to turn it down because of Princess Diaries too. Yeah.
Anne Hathaway, I thought would have done equally as good as Emmy Rossum.
I liked Emmy Rossum in this
Emmy
film,
Rossum.
and I know she got a lot of critiques about her acting and stuff for it.
But that role isn't
she got a lot of critiques, but I think it's the character. I don't think it's her acting.
It's not her fault. It's like,
That's true.
I did not like her when the movie first came out, and then, like, the subsequent times that I've watched it, I'm like, it's not her fault. Like, she's been in these other things in Shameless and whatnot, and she's done a great job, but you see her in this movie and they don't give you much with the character of Christine at all. Mm-hmm. So I feel like there's not much for her to do, really.
I mean, the character of Christine is supposed to be this ingenue, this deer in headlights, this I don't know what's really going on.
I mean, they did take away the one kind of scene for me that Christine really kind of breaks a little bit. Like, she has her little bit of, like, breaks, but they're more like, oh my god, woe is me.
Which scene
How
is
can
that,
I have
though?
this? The notes, the second notes.
It's my favorite sequence of all time.
Yelling,
Scene of
because
all
of her
time.
going off on Carlotta being like, you evil woman, how dare you. Like,
Yes.
they took that away, which
They
is
did
like
take that
her
away.
anger moment. She doesn't really get her anger moment in this.
See,
like she
I
does in the
felt like
show.
she had a good acting chops moment in the Don Juan Triumphant in this
did,
film.
yeah.
And
But
when
I'm just saying
was
she
like,
didn't get that anger. Like, but that's like her playing a character.
Yeah,
That's her
but
playing a
she's still
character that's playing a
acting.
character.
Yeah.
No,
And-
I'm not
but
saying that, but I'm just saying, like, they took Christine's one anger moment away.
I mean, the reason why I was so surprised that you said that she got some, because I have never heard that she got, flat lashback.
So
on her.
bad.
Yeah.
But because she was nominated for a Golden Globe for this film.
Well, people get nominated for stuff all the time and get criticized.
I know, but I mean, I didn't feel like she was. And I'm an actor, so I honestly didn't feel that she.
No, I didn't either, which is, I thought the criticism was misplaced. I think their
I agree.
criticism was that
Yeah.
they didn't like that the woman was this woman that needed a man to save her, and that's the role.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what they were angry about.
I don't even think that's it. Like, it's like, kind of that's the role, but when you have her towards the end, I mean, she faces off the Phantom in the end to protect Raoul, and that's pretty brave. I mean, what she does is pretty brave.
No, it is, but I'm just saying that's what the criticisms were saying, was she like is this weak woman who needs a man. That's how she's playing this part.
Thank you. Yeah, I completely disagree. And even in that moment, it's not even when she's protecting Raoul, but it's after that. After they like he tells her to go, and him and her have that moment after he's listening
When
to the
she
music
comes back.
box. Yeah, and I think that moment right there is. I don't know. I disagree. I think that she was great in this film.
Yeah, we already know that critics are not always
Right.
correct in
Of
all
course,
the stuff.
of
We're,
course.
but
I
we
mean,
also
critics
know-
are like
Oh my
generally
gosh.
90% of the time
Critics
opposite
didn't
of what
like,
I think.
they
Yeah.
didn't like the movie Excess Baggage, which go see it. It's amazing. It's a 90s movie
Sorry
with
for
Alicia
cutting you off, though,
Silverstone.
Alexis.
No,
What were
no,
you
no.
saying?
No, it's fine. That's all I really wanted to say because I felt, I mean, again, I'm probably being nitpicky just because I've seen this play so many times with my dad. It's one of his favorites besides Les Mis. And so the movie is great and I own it and I've played it several times, but I feel like the characters, they're a little downplayed than the theater. But I know that this is also a movie, so you kind of have to do that to a point. Same thing with Red.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah.
Raoul, though, Patrick Wilson, who I like didn't know when I first watched this film, and now I've seen like The Conjuring and
Yeah.
Insidious, and I was like, wow, that's that guy. And I was like rewatching. I was like, wait, that's that guy from Insidious.
You know what's funny is when I was going back, because Raoul's kind of like, Patrick Wilson does a great job of making Raoul seem to be like not this like foppish moron. Like he gives him a little bit of an elevation.
Yes.
But still, it's like, it's the same problem that Emmy Rossum ran into where like, there's only so much you can bring to a character that's like two-dimensional. I just remember it being that actor, what is his name, Jamie Bowers or whatever from Shadowhunters, and who played Grindelwald in Harry Potter,
Oh, that guy.
and who was in the movie about Sweeney Todd.
Oh,
Yeah, the one that played Anthony.
Yes. And in my head, that's who it was. And I was watching it and I was like, this is Patrick Wilson. This is how long it's been since I've seen that movie. And I was like, oh, that was not that guy at all.
This is gonna sound so weird, but like one of my favorite parts of Raoul is just him when he's in the opening song of his, when he's singing like that, he remembering that he knows her, and he's walking down the stairs, and he's like his shoulders are doing this little like
he's excited.
jiggling thing, but he's so like proper and
Yeah.
I don't know, I love it for some reason. Sorry, my voice.
He
is
makes
like,
Raoul
went.
less annoying to me, which I appreciated.
I thought he made Raoul a lot more likable in the show because,
Yeah.
like I said earlier, I didn't. Really
That was
feel-
overall felt by most people, is that he gave Raoul, like, people always felt like Christine was kind of like money grubbing with Raoul. Like that's the only reason she would like him, because they couldn't figure a reason why she would like him, and
Well, I
he
feel
gave
like-
a reason to like him.
Well, in the musical, I felt like he only liked her because now she's beautiful and she can sing.
Well,
As
I
when
mean,
she was a child,
yeah.
she was this
Yep.
little weird, like, child
Little
that he was
Lottie.
like, you're kind of annoying, but now that you can sing and you're beautiful, I want to be with you. And I felt like that in the movie, it's not like that. He loves her, and they have these little Lottie, like they have these little back and forth banters of how they used to interact when they were kids, and it's cute. And he
it's
really
all a
likes
ploy
her.
to get into her pants.
I mean,
That's so ridiculous. I felt
She's
like I was watching
hot.
Swan Princess again, where it's like she started as an ugly duckling, but now she became a swan. I'm
I
like,
love
shut up.
that movie, Alexis.
Shut up. I know I do too, but like literally, you should write a book on how to offend women in 10 pages or less. Like, ugh.
And then another person that I didn't know when I watched this, and then afterwards I was like, wait, it was Miranda Richardson, because I know her from
Right.
Sleepy Hollow and many other things, but Sleepy Hollow
She
is
was
like my
Rita
main
Skeeter
one.
in Harry Potter.
She was Rita
That's
Skeeter.
right,
But-
yeah.
But like my main one that I love her in is Sleepy Hollow, the Johnny Depp one with Tim Burton.
yeah, I when I was
But she
researching
has
the
such a
cast,
flawless accent. Like she's so
yeah.
good.
she
Oh, yeah.
does, yeah.
Yeah, she brought her A game to a movie that didn't even need her to bring her A game. She was like, I will show up with the correct French accent. And you're like, you go.
Yeah, she was great. I felt like in the movie, this was one of my critiques when we talked about the musical, is that they didn't really delve into more of a character arc for Madame Giry, or Giry, however you want to pronounce it. But I felt like in the movie, I felt like they had more liberties with expressing her characterization, and it was like this. I felt like she did have this kind of jealous type of Christine over Meg. I felt like she did have more of an infatuation with the Phantom. I felt like she, or as her as an actor.
Yeah, it made it seem like she was only trying to put Christine forward to appease the Phantom, rather
Yes.
than because she wanted to do it for Christine.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And I felt like, especially when Christine was singing "Think of Me" in the movie, and Madame Giry is standing behind Meg, and she's like touching her shoulder, and she's like giving Meg or Christine this look. Like,
You got your soap
I
opera.
wish that this was my daughter, but I guess it has to be you. Like, I felt like they had more character arc for her character.
Yeah.
And it's Miranda Richardson. Like, give her something.
Yeah, I mean, she's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my overall favorite of this is Minnie Driver, hands down.
You know what's interesting? So when I saw this, I've never actually been that big of a fan of Minnie Driver, and it's this movie I love. Like, I absolutely love her role. But I had a friend be like, well, she's a trained singer and you should respect her for her singing voice. She doesn't even sing.
No, she's not a trained singer. She wasn't trained. That's why they
Yeah.
didn't have her sing. They dubbed
They
her
had
voice.
they
Which
dubbed
also
her
rose my
opera
thing of,
voice.
like, if you're going to dub one person that didn't have training, why didn't you dub the other? But that's me.
No. But she does a great performance to make up for the fact that her singing voice is dubbed.
Like,
Well,
no,
I mean,
she's amazing acting.
Minnie
in this.
Driver she does sing. She just wasn't trained in opera.
Yeah.
Yeah. She just wasn't this stylistically trained.
Yes.
Yeah. Because and like, let's give credit to Margaret Priest, who was a singing teacher who dubbed her voice, because obviously it's beautiful. But I feel like they made Carlotta's character in this more unlikable and less talented. Whereas, because, you know, when she's like singing the songs, they're like, the cleaning people are like covering their ears and they're like, oh, get out of there, we don't really like you. And I understand that you're having a diva moment, nobody likes you because you're annoying. But I felt like, as a talent wise, because even the musical, she's an amazing singer. Like, there's not, you don't second guess that. But here you're like, is she a bad singer? Because
See,
nobody
it's
really
not the
likes her.
singing as much that I think is bad. I think people are annoyed of hearing her sing, and that's why they're covering their ears, because they're like, oh, we have to hear her sing every day. But I think her acting is over the top, and that's what makes her a bad performer.
I think it's clear that they make it look like her acting is terrible. But yeah, they do.
is leaving.
Okay,
I
now
like
I'm
it
really
when
leaving.
she's like, bring my doggies.
Oh my god, my favorite is when she's like, don't step on my train. Don't step on somebody made my train too long. It's just my favorite.
And she had a great accent, too. Like,
She did.
her and Miranda Richardson, they were on top of it with this.
Well, apparently Minnie Driver like got her accent from an old neighbor that she used to she used to be neighbors with, and that's where she got that
And see, and
inspiration.
I was a
for that
big
character.
Minnie Driver fan because I was a big Will and Grace fan.
Thank you.
And so she was the mistress in Will and Grace.
She's great.
Who's just with him for his money. So she's, same role.
Exactly. Yeah, pretty much.
But she just has one of those, she brings so much energy to her role that in a play where so much dark stuff is happening and so much crazy stuff is happening, she's like the craziness that overtops the killing craziness for some reason for me. I'm like, there's people dying, there's people being treated terribly, and all you care about is like yourself.
Yeah.
And having people drink champagne
And
out of
having
her
people
shoes.
drink
Yeah.
But I
and
think,
having your puppies with their little bows.
oh my god, they're so cute though. I also loved her facial expressions every time when it was like supposed to be like a light moment, or if she's trying to be over dramatic, like when she is giving the shoe to the production house owners, I guess, and she's like, you're gonna drink out of it, and he's like, okay.
I love her face when she goes out and everyone's like screaming and they're like, oh, it's your fans. She's like, yeah, they love me. And then they're like, Christine Daaé, and she's like,
Give this rose to Christine Daaé. She's like, oh god.
and then because it's like, it's apparent in her head, you see it turn like, wait, I could lose everything. Like I've done this because I've always been able to keep my job, but now what am I gonna do? Like, if she is talented as well and the fans want her, like I need to do something.
Yeah.
I think my favorite Minnie Driver moment is during Masquerade and this is just as an actor, when you're not even supposed to be on, but you are, like you're just giving this role because you're in it. When, and this is 6 months later, keep in mind of the musical and the play, when Masquerade's going on and Christine and Raoul like walk past her and she gives them like this dirtiest
Yes,
look. And
that's
she's
what I was
like,
gonna say.
"Ugh, like you're still here." Like it's like she's
I
still
love that
holding on
she's
to it. I
able
love
to
her.
be like a complete bitch to the financer. Like,
Yeah.
you think
Yeah.
that would be her like immediate, nope,
Right.
you're out.
Yeah.
Well,
You
that's-
pissed off the producer.
Yeah, and that's
basically.
that was the one thing I was sad about, because Notes is such a huge part. The reprise is such a huge scene for me. It was that you get to see that different side of her, because when she says the line, she's mad, you can kind of see that she's like, oh my gosh, there is something wrong with you. And at the
Yeah.
same time, I feel bad, but I still want this role anyway, because she goes straight back into the fact of like, I should be doing this instead of. And obviously, I think the second part of Minnie Driver that I loved was when she was doing the notes for
Yes.
The Point of No Return, or the last play that's like absolutely terrible. She just looks like she's just not into it, but she has to because she's so afraid. But she's just like, I'm still gonna be dramatic though.
Yeah.
You have to deal with it. So yeah, I think she was actually the best part of this entire
And that
movie.
also, the Point of No Return scene also gave a different to La Carlotta, because when Piangi's found dead, she like rushes to his body and is crying, which shows that she actually did care about somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I just a little confused because in the beginning, right before she storms out of before Think of Me, he like gives her like a wave, like, well, bye, if you're gonna leave, well,
Maybe
bye.
the wave was like, I'll see
But,
you
like,
later.
I'll see you later.
I'll see you
Yeah.
later, or it's like, oh, she does this all the time, she'll be back. Like, we don't really listen. But then, so I was just a little confused. I was like, does she really like him, or does she not like him?
I
Or
think
Maybe
their
it's a little both.
relationship.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. I mean, every relationship is, right, guys?
Yeah, no, for real.
And then of course we have Jennifer Ellison, who played Meg, and like we said, like Meg doesn't
Gabrielle from Xena. It's not the same actress. I just
Yeah.
she
Yeah,
looks
this,
like
I,
her.
don't, I don't
Doppelganger.
think this girl is not. She was. I looked her up on IMDb. She hasn't done too much. I don't think
No.
she's actually an actress. I think she's.
She is a West End theater actress.
Yeah, that's what I
Yes.
thought. I
Yeah.
was like, I feel like she's a theater actress. more
Yeah.
than a
Yeah, but now
film.
she's married and has 3 kids, and this is like the biggest thing she's ever done besides The Cottage, and good for her. I mean,
Yeah.
I liked her in the film. I felt like they gave like once again like with Madame Giry, I felt like they gave Meg a little bit more, juice to her character, because she is the one that rallies the mob, and she is Christine's best friend. I do feel that from her. I feel like she does really care for her, and in spite of Christine being this front in the spotlight, she doesn't give off a jealousy vibe, which means that she is a true friend. She really does
Yeah.
care about her, and I got that from the movie, so
and
I do
they
like her.
cast her very well, looks wise. With
Yes.
I
Sure,
appreciate
yeah.
the fact that she walks in first position. Like ballerinas have this thing
That's another
like
thing.
where their feet are perpetually turned out because
Yeah.
of what they do, and she made that effort to walk in first position
Yeah.
the whole time.
Yes.
No matter what the scene was.
Yep.
theater trained
She
actors.
ran in first position. I was like, "You go, girl."
She right.
Let's talk a little bit about the costume design and makeup. I did have some photos for the costume because I thought the costumes in this were
Loved.
amazing.
Yes.
Loved them.
Yeah.
So this first picture will be Minnie Driver in the very French-esque.
Yes.
Il
Where you
Muto?
can't walk through
Yes.
The heavy,
a doorway.
heavy hat, heavy hair.
I just love how like anytime when she was walking and everybody was up in the
Rafters.
crowd.
Yeah.
They're like mooning her and
Yeah.
Sorry. There's somebody talking in the booth. It's the fact that it was like knocking into things. People were trying to like throw stuff at it because it was so big. But I heard that on set they were trying to see if they can put like little things and kind of drop them into her wig because she couldn't feel it. So she would never know. But I think there was an interview where she talked about that there was like a penny that like fell into her cleavage and stuff because people were trying to throw. It was really funny. Like there was like a contest between the extras of like who can get into the wig. I thought it was really funny.
That's actually
really
really
good.
funny. And I hate my hat. That's
I
my
hate
favorite.
my hat.
I hate my hat.
and then we have the Phantom in his same photo we showed of last week, but in the costume for this
I
time.
have to say, like, this is the benefit of having like a big budget film behind you. Not that the Phantom of the Opera has a small budget, but I'm just saying that like the costumes to me are better here in the movie than they are in the stage show, because the Phantom has this kind of like glitter cape going on, and I'm like, oh,
He does,
why?
but the skull face is scarier in the theater.
Yes.
Yes, I agree,
Yes.
because of the fact that it's supposed to be an entire face. You're not supposed to see his face at all, and he has that giant hat as
Yeah.
well. So I do like what they did with this mask because it does have more
Yes.
definition in it.
And
But
the
I
black
didn't-
around the eyes.
Yeah, it's super cool. But
But
I
I
love.
love-
Yeah, go ahead.
I love his costumes in this.
No,
It's
yeah,
just
no,
that
his
Gerard
costumes are
Butler
great.
is so sexy in these costumes, and I was saying that the cape of the Phantom on the stage show, when you get up close, like if you're an audience member, it doesn't really matter because it's meant to play to the back row,
Yeah.
you know. But when you get up close and you see the videos, you're like, the costumes like on the stage show are not as impressive as the costumes in the movie, especially like her Emmy Rossum's like sexy negligee number where you're like,
Yes.
oh, we've got this like dungeon and she's in her sexy
She's
negligee.
got like
and-
this high, like what is that? That little
The-
stockings or like the
the
Garter
stockings,
belt.
garters,
Thank you.
yeah. And there's something in it that just like you're like, so like your sexual fantasies here are like really
See,
at play.
I like both. I like both the costumes from the theater show and the movie just in separate ways, because obviously the ones they use in the movie they couldn't do in the theater show because you can't change out of those very
Right,
fast.
right. And you can't be running around in like
the
a
wig.
negligee and garters like in a stage show.
Yeah.
And you can't have a wig that goes up to the ceiling.
Yeah.
He has a train.
You can
guys.
try.
Can we talk about that train? I mean, the budget for this
yeah.
movie was $70 million, so I would hope that they invested some of
And
that
I
in
will
the
say one
costumes.
thing, and I don't know if it's just, maybe it's just because the theater show, I'm so far away that I can't notice it, but because the mask sits right over his upper lip, his teeth protrude a little
Yes,
more.
I noticed that too.
And then like, it reminds me kind of chipmunky. But
Yeah,
just
there's like a little
bit.
rabbit-esque.
It's not him, because I've seen him in other films. I think it's just because the mask, and maybe just
and
'cause of-
probably the prosthetics, too.
And the prosthetics,
Yeah. Because it took about, what did they say, 4 hours for him to get into it?
yeah, and with the way you have to sing and stuff in the mask,
Yeah.
maybe it's just that. But I just like, for some reason, I just kept noticing his teeth.
Yeah.
For me, it drew my attention to his mouth, and I never really thought of Gerard Butler as having a sexy mouth. And I was like, ooh, I love
Even
this.
with the swollen lip on
Yeah.
the top.
Oh.
Yeah, I do want to do a little nod to the costumer who was Alexandra Byrne, who's an Oscar winner. She won an Oscar for the Elizabeth movie with Cate Blanchett in 1998. So, and she's also done Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor, Doctor Strange. So she's still around. She's done a lot. So credit to her because those costumes are
They're amazing.
amazing.
And then let's talk a little bit about the makeup. Now, for me, and we're going to show a picture of the Phantom, but for most of the makeup, I loved it. But for the Phantom, I was a little underwhelmed. I thought his face wasn't as grotesque as I had imagined it being. And in the show, I get more of a grotesque feeling from him than I do in the film.
I mean, he's called the Devil Child when he was in the circus or the fair, whatever it's called. So I agree with you. I think he should have been a little bit more monstrous, but at the same time, you do have to. It's a movie, so the camera's going to be up close. So with a stage, you could do all this crazy stuff, and people aren't going to like sit there and nitpick it. Whereas with a movie, it's like you have to be careful so that it doesn't look fake. It has to look natural.
Yeah, and I get that. I just think that when you're having this big reveal, like even like, because in, that she rips off the mask in the first part and he hides his face, and then like you're waiting this entire time, and the reveal for me just wasn't as intense as I wanted it to be.
I agree.
We'll wait for that picture might come up a little bit later, but we'll move on for now. Let's go into the music. So in this, they had some choices where they did speaking lines versus singing lines. So one of the most notable lines for me is in the engagement part when they're speaking it, because it's very evident for me when it's rhyming that you're speaking something that should be sung.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't know, something about it, like, and sometimes you can do it and it doesn't hit your ear weird, but for some reason when they did it, it hit my ear just a little bit weird, and I wanted to sing it.
I didn't necessarily mind the singing speaking parts or the speaking singing parts. I think that those are more acting choices. I felt like the actors had more of a liberty to be like, you know what, I feel like this should be said rather than sung.
I just wish they would have changed the lines a little bit then, just because the rhyming hits my ear weird.
I see what you're saying, but at the same time, it's like you have a script, so you can't just change the lines because you don't feel like singing it or speaking it. You know what I mean? So they did what they thought was right.
The biggest one for me though was him singing the end, because it just didn't hit for me at all.
You had said that earlier, and I didn't necessarily feel that way.
Really?
No, I liked it.
Because like in the play, at the very end, when he's like trying to get them to leave, and they're just kind of staring at him, and then he's like keeps saying it, and they just keep staring at him, and then finally he's like, go now, and leave me. And he's just, I don't want to scream into the microphone, but he just screams it, and it's just like this, like such intense moment, and they're like, oh shit, we have to leave. And in this one, it was just like, go now, and leave me.
So you felt that he should have spoken that instead of singing
I thought he should have yelled
I
it.
think that this again has to do with kind of the tweaking of his story to make him more of a sympathetic character. I feel like because we have this very vulnerable, more vulnerable Phantom in the movie, I think that it was an acting choice. I don't know on whether it was Gerard Butler's or the director. But I think to have him, because this is the moment where he realizes that he's wrong, and so we can either have like the stage Phantom, which is the more like forceful, angry, like powerful Phantom, versus he's the more vulnerable Phantom. So I think in this position, his choice to me was the correct choice to say okay, like I've broken down so much, just my heart can't take it anymore, so I'm just gonna be a wounded animal and turn around. And I think that to me that that read correctly for what this piece was.
And maybe that's why I don't like it, because I don't like that portrayal of the Phantom.
Maybe. I do agree with Jackie, though. And I feel like, yeah, I mean, if that is an acting choice, it's actually really good on you for pointing that out, because I feel like that's exactly what a vulnerable Phantom would do.
See, for me, it makes me, like, laugh. It's comical to me when he does it.
You're the worst.
I'm sorry. Like, what? It's my opinion. Like, am I supposed to just be like, oh, no, I love it?
No,
He's
not
like
at all.
sexy emo. To
Gotcha.
me, like,
I don't agree with you for once.
I do like sexy emo Phantom.
I love fighting with you, Briana.
No, but it just, I don't know. For me, it makes me laugh because it's like this weird part where he spins, he's like breaking down, he's like so tired. And it's not like a tired thing for me. It's not like it's just weird to have him sing at that moment. I don't know. I didn't like it. I'll move on from it. I didn't like it.
Brianna's not about emo Phantom.
No, I just like, because to have this guy that's killing and going around and doing all these things so forceful to have his way, he's angry, and I like it makes sense to me. The anger makes sense to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Lastly, before we move on, I want to talk about the credit song, and this is where Minnie Driver did sing. So, Learn to be Lonely, which is one of the saddest lyrics ever. Like, just learn to be lonely. Life can be lived alone.
Ew.
I do like this song, which is
I do,
funny
it's
because,
beautiful.
because I hate Oscar bait songs, and this was like supposed to be,
Yeah.
if it was picked up, it would be the Oscar bait song.
Well, it was nominated, wasn't it?
No, I don't think so.
No, wait, yes.
Yeah, it was not.
It
yes,
was?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, so there. It's the
It's an
Oscar bait song, and I usually hate them, but this one I liked. I don't know why.
Yeah,
No, I love this song. It's just so sad.
Yeah. it
I
is
think
sad.
I thought it was funny because I was watching the movie, and I usually shut the movie off after the credits, but like the music got me this time, and I was like, what is this song? So I started listening to it, and then I did research, and it's Minnie Driver.
And I love the fact that they had her sing, like, okay, you can't hit the opera songs, but let's showcase you in
Yeah.
something else.
yeah, and Andrew Lloyd Webber wrote this song for the film, which I thought was great to have Minnie Driver sing it. I thought, yeah, and the music too in the movie was actually orchestrated by a 105-piece orchestra, which I thought was really cool because I felt like the music in this and the cinematography was on point in this film.
I mean, it got nominated for Best Academy Award Cinematography, Best Production Design. So it's, I mean, to me, that it was well worth it. Like,
Yes.
There's another benefit of making, even though the layer is very cool when you see it on stage with the boat and everything, which is, to me, I always love that boat because it's a nod to me, in my mind, it's a nod to Ludwig II, who made the Neuschwanstein Castle, and he actually did make an underground like boat like that in one of his castles. But you're able to build it up more. So you have this big budget, and you can make this really intricate underground cool set piece that you can't do as much on the stage.
Yeah.
I loved the sets in this film.
Yeah, and I thought what was great was that the film did, before we close out, really nice nods to the actual novel that the actual musical is based off of, when Christine goes on the horse, because that's actually in the novel, and when Patrick Wilson is in that mirror room, because apparently in the novel the Phantom used to use that mirror room to drive his like victims insane. So they did like little things like that. Another little tidbit that I forgot to mention with Christine's character is that, do you guys remember when they had that picture of her father?
Yes.
His name was Gustave Daaé, which is her son's name in the sequel. And then that is actually Ramin Karimloo.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm sure Alexis knows this. Who played her dad in the picture, but he also played the Phantom and Raoul on the show.
Yep.
So he's
Yep.
the only person alive who's played
and
all
I
three
do
characters.
appreciate
Yep.
when film does that.
Yeah,
I love when
I love those little things. Yeah.
Wait, one more fun fact. It was
Yeah,
filmed
go.
at Pinewood Studios, the Prince and the Showgirl, where the Prince and the Showgirl was filmed, and that's the My Week with Marilyn story. It's that studios.
Got it.
Oh, cool.
I do need to make 2 corrections from last week that my sister and fans have let me know. We had said that the show set had not been changed since the original, and it has for this past tour for the 30th anniversary. They changed the set, and I guess my sister said it now has a rotating stage. And then also, I just did with Wikipedia because I had never seen Love Never Dies, but I have been corrected on the story for Love Never Dies. It's not that the Phantom is completely doing this whole thing again. It is that he's bringing her to Coney Island, but the son in there is supposed to be the Phantom's son, not Raoul's. And that's kind of where the story starts. I don't want to give away the ending on here in case people want to see the tour when it comes around. But someone also did say in the tour that it is the Australian tour, I believe is what they said, and that they said it's very good.
Yeah. And apparently a lot of my theories from last week are true in the sequel, so go watch it.
Phantom of the Soap Opera.
So let's move on to our Broadway news here. Quick few stories. We have Hidden Figures to become a Broadway musical, question mark?
I would love that.
I mean,
I would actually love that because I feel there's a lot of black actresses in Broadway that don't get highlighted enough. And when they do get highlighted, it's only in like black, like an all black cast, like The Color Purple. You rarely have them get to be in like a mixed number, which it's a shame. Like they should be in all kinds of shows.
I mean, I think it's great. I just feel like it. I don't want to say so fast, but this movie just came out. And they're talking about turning it into a musical, whereas Mean Girls came out like 12 years ago, and they're finally going to make it a musical. Like and I'm not saying that Hidden Figures has anything comparable to Mean Girls, but it's like,
well, to be fair, they didn't say when it's going to be turned into a musical.
No, and I understand that, but it's like, why did it take so long for them to figure out Mean Girls and other shows that could be turned into musicals, whereas this one, they're like, oh yeah, this will be a great musical, because I honestly don't see it.
I think it also depends on like who you have attached to the project, where someone like Tina Fey was so busy all the time. Mm-hmm. So maybe, I don't know, maybe for Hidden Figures, they could hire someone who strictly does musicals, whereas Tina Fey doesn't. So it's like, who do you attach to the project but still keep Tina Fey, you know?
Well, the quote was that Janelle Monáe, who portrays Mary Jackson in the film, sorry, my voice, revealed that the scriptwriter Allison Schroeder spoke to her about the possibility of adapting the movie to the Broadway. Monet also says a co-star Octavia Spencer, she's the best singer, and so she should definitely sing all the numbers. She should sing every song in there.
See, but I think that's the only reason that they're doing it is because Janelle Monáe is a singer.
I mean, it might be.
And I feel like it would be more adapted to be a stage play.
I think that it could
musical.
be good. It just depends on what they... I would be interested to see what kind of music they would want to use.
I just don't think it's a
I think if they went
show.
too campy, it would take away a lot from the show.
I mean, they did
That's why it should be
Bodyguard.
a straight-
They did Bodyguard as a musical. You can do serious.
But they're singing in The Bodyguard, though.
I also heard
Whitney Houston's
I've also
music.
heard negative things about The Bodyguard.
I mean, but it's still they're singing in the musical. That's my point. Like with Hidden Figures, it's about space and NASA. I feel like the story is amazing, which is why it should be a straight show.
Well, another movie turned musical, Bronx Tale, that you saw.
Yay!
Cast album has set its release date. It's going to come out on March 24th digitally. CDs will be coming out on April 14th and will be sold at the theater that date, and they'll be sold in stores in May, but they haven't announced the date. And the recording will be available for streaming on June 23rd.
Yeah, which is funny because my friend Ariana DeBose is in it, and she plays the lead African American female, and which name is escaping me right now. And I just remember her Facebook post about being in the studio and singing it, which is actually really cool. I'm super excited for them. I think that it's going to be really successful, and good luck to the cast album release.
Release rap for the Tony Awards,
Release
like
rap.
always.
I want to give some fan shout-outs. Samantha Ramirez, she mentioned the Mean Girls musical. Tim Lemix, who mentioned the Heathers musical. I would love to do that.
Hey, Tim.
Once we've actually seen it. And Jody Lynn, who wants us to do Miss Saigon, which I'm sure we'll do at some point.
Nice catch.
Nice catch.
But you guys keep commenting.
Yes,
My point is
we
keep
do
commenting.
love
We'll
it.
give you shout-outs.
I try to comment back in the comment section to you guys if there's something to comment back towards, and I'll definitely give you a thumbs up. Nick Jonas, his name came up from a fan saying that he should play Conrad Birdie, and Jennifer Lopez responded saying, "We're talking about a lot of different people right now. We're not at the stage where we are actually casting, but his name has come up," she said.
He was so bad in that Les Mis, what was it, 25th anniversary, which is weird because he was actually really good in Kingdom, if you guys have seen Kingdom.
But Bye Bye Birdie, I don't think
No.
You have to have like the most.
No, but
amazing
He was
I mean,
really
voice in the
he was
world.
really good in How to Succeed at
In
Business.
Business?
Yeah,
Wow.
he was very, very good in that. I think it's just because he was trying to get back into Broadway after being gone for so long, because he used to do it when he was a kid.
Maybe
and
he was
so
he was rusty.
And he even said that he was actually quite afraid to play Marius
Yeah.
Marius.
He had been
yeah.
too Disneyed.
Yeah, I agree. And so now after that, I think he was just doing musical after musical after musical after that, and obviously his solo career has launched since then too. So I
But
think
isn't
now
he a little young for Conrad
That's
Birdie?
what I was
No.
thinking too.
Oh, he's in his 20s, isn't
He's
he?
he's in his late 20s.
Yeah, I think, no, early 20s.
Early
my dear.
20s?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
He's
sorry.
younger than me.
I don't know.
No,
Jonas
that's not
Brothers.
right. No, he's older than me. No, wait a minute. I'll have to look it up.
Whatever, mid
I think
20s.
he's-
We'll just say mid.
I think he's late 20s, but okay.
But no, Conrad. I mean, there's no defined age. Yes, he's supposed to be Elvis, but he's just supposed to be a sex symbol. As long as he's old enough to be a sex symbol, I think
He's
it's
24.
fine. Yeah, it's fine.
Can Johnny Rhys-Meyers sing?
He's older.
'Cause
I'm fine with Nick Jonas if they
Jonathan
can't pick him.
Rhys-Meyers would be amazing.
yes. Did you ever see the Elvis miniseries where he was?
No, but I saw August
I
Rush.
think
and
But here's the thing: I don't think especially for this live one where the audience is geared towards teenage girls, you can make him too old either. He has to be in his middle to late 20s.
You probably also have to have him not drink, therefore have not Jonathan Rhys-Meyers play him because he would probably drink the whole time.
There is an open casting call for the live-action Aladdin that they are making because they're making every single Disney film ever made into a live-action.
I will see it. That's the thing. I don't care if you do it.
I'll see it. No, I will see every one of them. But I'm just saying they're doing it with everyone. It's like their new thing now. Dan Lin expressed his intention to cast the film with ethnically authentic actors, which is why they're doing an open casting call. He quoted, "Look at me. I mean, I'm not a typical guy. Listen, I'm very fortunate working in Hollywood. I'm diverse. So when I come to make a movie, I wanted to make a diverse version of the movie. Luckily for me, Guy Ritchie has the same vision and Disney has the same vision." So,
Amen to that.
Good.
Yes.
That's good.
so he's like, so we're not here to make the Prince of Persia.
Thank you so hard.
Yes.
And here are the requirements if you're interested. And we'll post this stuff too to our Twitter and our Facebook page. You have to be Middle Eastern. You should be between 18 to 25 years old. You have to be able to sing.
Well, let's hope.
Dance experience is a plus, and rehearsals are going to begin in April of 2017, so next month. And the
that's
shooting
fast.
is beginning in July and going through January
I
of
feel
next
like the
year
tour is already
in
planned.
the UK.
Oh.
Oh,
okay.
Nice.
Okay.
And to submit, you email a photo and video of yourself singing
Sweet.
to ctcastingoffice@gmail.com. And again, we'll post all of this stuff on our pages too. So if you're interested and you feel like you'll make a great whoever in this cast, definitely do
We're
it.
at Broadway
Yeah.
Be Down, and we have a Broadway Breakdown Facebook
Bake
page.
down.
Yeah.
Bake Down.
We,
Bake
like
down.
we bake Broadway things.
I can't bake shit.
Heck yeah.
I'm actually really happy that they're staying authentically, racially authentic to this show because I feel like it's always forgotten as an ethnic, like Disney
Well, and
movie.
it
Yeah.
is. It's so important to the story to have it set in that.
Yeah.
And in this current state and political world, like I just feel like
You have to do that.
Yeah.
It's just insulting
Yeah.
otherwise.
Well, there goes my dreams of playing Jasmine.
I think you could still do it.
I think you could
I'm
still
not
do
Middle
it.
Eastern, guys.
You're ethnic, so you're fine.
We do,
Yay!
we do have to wrap it up because we are running a little long, so I'll save my next two stories and I'll do them next week. But
Next week is Beauty and the
Beauty
Beast. I
and
keep
the
knocking
Beast.
my coffee over.
Stop being excited, Jackie.
I'm like, Beauty and the Beast.
So next week we're going to be discussing Beauty and the Beast, the theater show. We're going to do the theater show first because we want to do the film later, and I won't have a chance to see it probably before Sunday because it's St. Patrick's Day. And that's big in my family. But like always, you can find me at bphipps14 on Twitter and Instagram, bphipps1214 on Snapchat. And where can they find you guys one last time?
You guys can find me on all social media platforms at I am Timothy Mike,
And I'm 123 Jackie B on all social media platforms.
except Snapchat.
Except Snapchat where it's not that. It's Jackie B 123.
Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network. The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.